finds an endless desert plain. And to the south, a great mountain range reaching deep into Saudi Arabia, across Sinai, and thence to Nubia on the African continent. Relics of destruction dot the landscape, stark reminders of the pathos and futility of war. Yet, in sharp contrast to this parched desert land, snuggling up against its shoreline is a body of water, just 20 million years old, young by geological standards, but so filled with wonderful and amazing sights, it is considered a mecca for sport divers. This is God's other world, the Red Sea. And south of Tel Aviv by 400 miles is the home of the Marina Sharm Hotel and the Red Sea Diver Center. Together, the hotel and center provide the finest in accommodations and diving services to be found in the Sinai. The Red Sea Divers facility has over 150 sets of dive gear in stock, 2 45-foot dive boats, a spacious diving center, and weather conditions to dive 365 days a year. A staff of 15 assures guests of having all of their diving needs met. Howard Rosenstein, owner of the Red Sea Divers Center, an American, was born and raised in Los Angeles. Along with his partners, Yossi Kvasny and Michael Daniel, the trio has established a reputation for having carved out of the desert. Having loaded and boarded the Red Sea Diver II, our team of divers heads south, led by a school of dolphins playing happily at the bow. Along the coast are numerous dive sites already explored by Howard and his guides. Water. And along this craggy shoreline, with its hidden bays and coves at places like Ras Umsid, Marsa Baraka, and Ras Muhammad, there can be found some of the most spectacular drop-off diving in the world. And at the Straits of Tiran, consisting of Thomas, Gordon, Woodhouse, and Jackson Reefs, fringing coral ramparts continually built up by coral animals provide broad diving platforms for divers to comfortably work from. During deep dives, there could be no finer place to decompress than along the face of a Red Sea coral wall. Halfway between Nama Bay and Howard's Temple, there is an ancient wreck site that was worked by professional archaeologists a few years ago. Still intact on the sloping reef are large amphoras and ship's anchors. Howard points out one of the anchors to Sari. The ship was a Turkish vessel heading south 450 years ago when a storm caught her unawares and sent her crashing into the reef, spilling her contents and smashing the wooden hull to pieces on the seafloor. Along with navigational aids, some of the anchors and amphora were removed to a maritime museum in Haifa, where today they are on display. Some of the amphora were carrying mercury, a metal that flows so readily it is sometimes called quicksilver. By fanning away at sand pockets, some of it may be exposed. In ancient times, mercury was used for refining gold and silver ore. The ore was crushed, the mercury mixed with it, and by a process called amalgamation, the gold was separated from the stone. Howard's thinking about opening a thermometer factory. Far around the tip of the Sinai and just into the Gulf of Suez is a wreck site recently discovered by Howard. In conversations with an old Bedouin one day, he learned of this wreck and realized that if it proved to be what the Bedouin had claimed, it would be of great historical significance. The journey from the dive center takes about 3 hours by boat, passing the craggy cliffs of Ras Muhammad and striking out into deep ocean waters. In 1918, when T.E. Lawrence, more popularly known as Lawrence of Arabia, led the Arabs in revolt against Turkish domination, he brought from England a number of vessels carrying gold sovereigns with which to pay off the Arab leaders. A couple of these ships didn't make it. This is one of them, the Dunraven. Running up against an uncharted reef, the ship turned completely over, exposing its belly to the surface and settling into a permanent grave. For over 60 years, the ship lay like this until Howard located it in 85 feet of water, its hulk slowly rusting and corroding into the bottom. Its light, reflected from Ochre Mountains in Saudi and Jordan, turns the steel blue water a crimson shade, making it indeed a Red Sea. It is a place where modern man with a diving mask can witness life flourishing in greater variety than anywhere else on Earth. The Red Sea is a vast underwater hothouse, a precious jewel worth preserving. The profuse, colorful life hidden in this special world is magnified by the stark terrestrial landscape, stretching in pastel colors as far as the eye can see. And where but here, in the cradle of civilization, is there to be found such a contrast? Where one can walk in the footsteps of Jesus, or trace the path of Moses through nearby mountains where he led his people out of bondage. Where, in 5,000 years, time has practically stood still.
Its coast is a treasure hunter's paradise strewn with wrecks. Between the desert and the deep blue sea are the coral reefs. To say that this coast is treacherous would be an understatement. The coral can come rising up from the bottom in what they call a coral head as much as 5 miles out to sea, so that just when a ship might think it's thoroughly safe and well clear of land, it can actually be heading towards a chunk of coral. And a great many ships have discovered that to their cost. The wreck we're after, Lawrence of Arabia's wreck, they call it, lies here. It's been found at the foot of the reef, covered by deep water and a certain amount of mystery. We're in at the start of a treasure hunt with some of the hunters. They'll work from here, Sharm el-Sheikh, and they must be quick. The port is to be handed over from Israel to Egypt sometime after the current peace talks end, and that may mean the end of diving for the Israelis. The Sinai coast is a place of untamed spirits. Where fierce sea eagles are at home, so are the sort of men who would hunt for gold. Sharm is full of men making plans. Even by Israeli standards, the people here are individualists. They say that if a friendship lasts for 3 weeks, is something inside her. Who does he say gets it?
Well, I think it's the people who discover it. Well, the people right now, it's us, because we're the first ones who've really taken upon ourselves to do a serious exploration of the place.
What about the other groups of divers around here who are also interested in diving on it?
What about them? They're interested in diving on it, but they know, whatever they know from us, and they don't have the means so much to get there like we do. And we just have to organize ourselves and get out there faster.
Would you be prepared to share any of the information you may get with them?
What for?
There are 3 others on the team. Shlomo is an artist and photographer. He's published a series of diving maps and guidebooks that you can read underwater. There's Yossi, Howard's partner in the diving club, a wartime combat diver drawn into this mission by what?
The simple passion that everybody has to dive in wrecks, you know, to remember all the stories from the childhood about gold and treasures under the water and so on. So I think that this is one of the motives also.
Must be quite a strong passion, because I'm told that your wife is about to have a baby and you've come down here. And the 4th member of the team, another wartime diver, Commander Speer. This is the expedition's diving boat. They sank her on a reef last month, and he's just finished raising and repairing her, ready for the trip out. It'll be his first visit to the wreck.
I don't make a lot thinking about it till I see it first time. Then I can measure it. I see how long it is, how bright it is, what engine it is. And then I can get a picture what wreck it is. But really, to tell you the truth, I have not any idea about it.
No romantic speculation at all?
I'm not romantic at all.
There's no time to waste. The waters where the wreck lies, beyond Ras Mohammed Point, may soon be handed back to Egypt. And word that the wreck may be Lawrence's gold ship from 1917 is luring other divers from as far away as Germany and Sweden. It's attracted the United States ambassador, Sam Lewis, too.
Howard!
Straight from the latest peace talks.
Good morning.
Welcome home.
Thank you.
How are you?
Oh, fine. I did the dirty deed yesterday.
Yeah. What'd you do? You gave it away.
Gave it away. Now, listen, but listen, it's 2.5 hours late finishing. You heard that.
What was
That's
the
why I
reason?
got here at 2 o'clock in the morning.
It was on the radio, though. What was?
I spent 2.5 hours trying to persuade them
Ras Mohammed.
to stick the line a little further west.
Did you? Did you
I
succeed?
did. No, I failed.
You failed.
But I really worked at it. 2.5 hours, we had 200 people sitting out there waiting for the ceremony, and the sun was getting lower in the west. And there I was arguing for your damn dive sites.
And it didn't work.
Well, maybe we'll get it next time.
Yeah, you think so? But did it go okay? I mean, were you pretty, in the end it worked out okay?
No, it worked out fine.
Yeah?
We had to talk to Sadat and to Begin on the phone and straighten out a few last-minute problems.
Really? You think I'll be able to
For
operate?
3 years, anyway.
For three?
Let me ask you, do you have any ideas what this wreck might be? Any private theories?
Well, I have a theory which I think I cooked up, and then Howard later told me it was his idea. I'm convinced that it was a ship which was taking the gold payments from Suez around to Lawrence's Bedouin fighters in Aqaba in 1917, and somehow or other ran aground before it ever got to Aqaba. So my theory is somewhere below that sand there's some gold coins.
The wreck is so thick in coral that she's gradually changing from a ship into a place. She's too big for the camera to show the whole majestic bulk of her, but Shlomo, the artist, can do it with a drawing built up from his underwater sketch pad. She lies capsized on the seabed with the reef behind her growing up to the surface 100 feet above. You can see the propeller clearly, each blade as big as a man. There are portholes and rips in her side big enough to swim through. Her back is broken. If you swim down into the gap, it's like being between two church arches. 2 masts lie on the sand beside her. They're working their way along the ship's bottom.
Quite long time. And then in one of the south storms, she fall down.
North storms.
South storm.
למה? היא באה עם חרטום, לדעתי החרטום שלה עלה צפונה.
She came from south with a
כן, נו.
stand to the north direction.
נו, אוקיי.
South stream.
לא, מה פתאום? רוח צפונית, סערה צפונית, תוריד אותה, מה הבעיה?
Maybe.
I don't think so. It's not logical because she went south. No, east. No. She came from Suez. No. And she was carrying something. No. And she was carrying to the Bedouin tribes in Aqaba Gulf. So she was heading east. No, maybe she came back from Aqaba. She came back for Aqaba. There's nothing to find there.
Okay. 1 second. Hydrochloric acid.
Doesn't smell.
You know, I think this plate is a little different than the other ones. This is not the same plate that we found before. You can still see this is the butterfly and the flowers. And it's a different design on the side. Here, maybe it's a different manufacturer. We'll see the name of the manufacturer.
No, it's the same.
I don't know.
Anyway, it's done, Raven. Anyway, we should dive in some other place of the ship. Nobody will keep a treasure in the kitchen. Don't you think so?
Where do you reckon?
Okay. It says Dunraven in a cabin.
Cabin underneath it.
That must be the cabin section. So there's different sections on the boat. And I think we found some with crew on it even, because
This one, which?
this one says engineers. You see? You see?
Chris. Again. It's Jack. Have you got anything?
Our researchers in London have discovered a Dunraven, but there's a puzzle. In 1910, her name was changed to Sarah Radcliffe, and she sank in British waters. Yet we have a growing pile of plates marked Dunraven.
Proving very difficult, is it? It's very difficult.
Next day, on the trip out to the reef, a brisk reminder of local tensions.
Stop taking photographs.
If you don't want to be photographed, go away.
I'm going to confiscate your camera.
These waters may soon belong to Egypt, but right now they're as secure as the Israeli Navy can make them.
Everything we film will be checked by the censor. There are Navy people here too, so don't get excited.
I only want your details.
If you don't want to be photographed, clear off.
You don't tell me when to go.
You're only the Navy. Guard us. Don't interfere with us.
Speer thinks the Navy are overdoing it, and he points this out to them.
I personally will see you get into trouble.
It looked like a nice, peaceful area, but it's full of action. Lawrence was a spy. They thought that we are spies, you know, all the time.
On the next dive, they find a nameplate on the wreck. It's an old rival of Howard's called Big Alex. He's a shark fisherman.
We've got people in the water.
I've been here since morning. You're driving my sharks away.
Get your bait out of the water.
He's got his hooks in the water. The sharks are going to start coming here. We got divers in the water over there, and they're going to start coming over where the ship is. We're going to have to cut his hooks and we'll get him out of here. Or else I'll just take my goddamn boat and put it right into the side of his boat. He's not allowed to fish here. It's against the law to fish here. And he's going to screw up everything that's going on here. I'm going to try one more time to talk to him. If he doesn't do it, I'm going to cut his line.
By evening, the row has been forgotten, and peace reigns at Sharm el-Sheikh. In the Divers Club, they've been showing an American-made diving film that states categorically that the wreck is one of Lawrence's supply ships from 1917. The man who could confirm that has been dead for years, of course, but he did leave a comprehensive account of his campaigns, so Lawrence may still be able to help us check out the gold ship theory.
The theory is based on some ancient, not ancient, but quite old speculation that I picked up from a Bedouin guide. He's a tracker in the Sinai, very famous and very wise old man named Suleiman. And his father before him was also a guide and a tracker. And their family just known as they're living legends in this area as far as knowing historically and geographically as much as there is to know.
Can we find this Suleiman?
It depends what he's doing right now. He might be out in the mountains out there somewhere.
We know that Lawrence did ship gold around this coast because... Well, this is the big moment.
Right.
يا مرحبا يا مرحبا اهلا اهلا يا مرحبا كيف حالك؟ كيف؟ يا مرحبا اهلين وسهلا.
protocol. Strong, sweet tea must come first. To start asking questions straight away would be an affront to Bedouin hospitality.
That's like grass.
After 2 glasses of tea, the moment is right.
زي واحد شيخ علشان بيجيب عم فصيصة زي القرنيط. القرنيط بيوديه من هون للدير زي واحد شيخ.
And he said that he knows some sheep that him's father told him that he knows, and then him's grandfather told him.
Ask him if he knows if it has any connection with Lawrence of Arabia.
تعرف واحد إنجليزي اسمه لورنس من عرب. من عرب.
لا ما بعرف.
He never heard of him. Would you thank him for the tea?
And we found Suleiman, and he says he never even heard of Lawrence.
It's a little different than what he told me, because he told me, well, you know, he didn't say the name Lawrence to me. But he said that, you know, in the time when they were having the fighting just before World War I and the preparation before that, that there was a white person that was coming and was paying the Bedouins, and he was going by ships. And so I never asked him, is it Lawrence, T.E. Lawrence or anything like that. I just said, well, you know, if any of the ships went aground, they're in this area. And he had told me about one ship that had went aground.
The trouble is here, whatever.
Boats don't come and go without any trace, especially with insurance, you know, companies, you know, and the type of policies that they have. So if a ship goes, disappears, I mean, it just doesn't go into thin air.
Well, a ship will go without any documents or nothing if it's a secret mission.
The secret mission theory does fit the next idea we get from London.
A theory has come from the Imperial War Museum that in the First World War, poison gas was being used in Europe by the British and the Germans.
Yeah, we know it.
There was apparently a secret plan to use it out here against the Turks by the British. And the War Museum say it's a possibility, especially as there seems to be some secrecy around this ship, it's hard to get through the records and penetrate them, there's a possibility that it might have been carrying poison gas, which was never actually used out here.
Today.
That's the end of the work. Okay, let's go home.
Poison gas.
Poison gas.
Any signs, any evidence,
As
anything
long
you'd
as-
look for?
Oh, you use some containers to this.
As long as
Right?
we keep breathing out of our regulators underwater, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
On the next dive, no sign of poison gas. Now, and the clues are as confusing as ever. Just in front of the funnel, the coral expert finds a bone. Could it be human?
Something, I think it's something related with the arms. The hand or the arm, some area. No?
Shoulder. To the shoulder.
Huh?
Something shoulder here, over here.
The arm. Yes. Okay, maybe. Yes. It's part of the bone. Okay.
Right. Time is running out. The waters must soon be handed over to Egypt, and after 9 days of diving and research, we know very little more than when we started. All we've found out is that the ship is called Dunraven, and she seems to have been here about 60 years, since around 1918. No Lawrence's gold, no Q-ship secret guns, no poison gas, no answers. What you're watching is the nearest thing to frustrated frenzy that a man under 100 feet of water can manage. Can brute force hack the answer out of her? Or could it be that it's already waiting for us in some detail we've overlooked? This is the hoard that the divers have brought up so far. It's cracked, chipped, encrusted with coral. Some of the bottles are oozing with strange-smelling substances. It's dilapidated and mysterious. But in all this, we can search for clues. All the portholes in the hull are being found wide open, both the glass windows and the metal storm shutters. Now, that seems to suggest that the ship sank very suddenly and quickly without any warning.
In getting hold of all these clues, our divers are having to grope through clouds of sand. And back in London, it's very much the same thing for our researchers. They're having to find their way through clouds of facts to try and find out which ones actually matter. So far, everything we've followed up has turned out to be a red herring. But we think now that we may have a breakthrough. And it's this bottle. It says Webb's Double Soda and Other Waters, Islington, London. Now, on checking that out, we find that Mr. Webb was making his soda in Islington way back in 1826, but that he stopped in 1905. So maybe time and our imaginations have been deceiving us. Maybe the ship is much older than anybody has thought. And when you check out the pottery and the china, we find that this piece has a mark on the back with the initials, very faint, hard to read, GFB. Now, GFB, it turns out, is George Frederick Bowers, who was making pottery in Staffordshire, but who stopped way back in 1886.
Armed with that, our researcher has been back to Lloyd's. They say that if the ship is much older, say one of the first steamships, it would never have been on their international register. That only goes back to 1886. Why don't we try the new Public Records Office at Kew?
Jack, will you come here for a minute? Somebody wants you on the radio.
Lean over.
What do I do? Press this.
But just push this.
Hello?
Jack, good morning.
Good morning. Who's that?
It's Joel talk with you. Good morning.
Good morning, Yoel. What's the news?
The letter with information about the wreck ship arrived at morning from London with Captain Avi, a pilot of El Al.
He's not the captain, he's the first officer.
So he flew it out on El Al, and where is it now?
The letter in Tel Aviv, but we have problem because the strike of our Kia airline. So maybe we can use a plane of the Israeli Air Force.
Okay. We expect to get back into Sharm at about 6:30 this evening, maybe a little earlier. Do you think you can get it down by then?
Just a moment, just a second.
هنا تمنع هنا
Whoa.
Don
Raven. The Don Raven. Just a moment. Whoa. The steam?
Yep.
The first one, second. Still on the horn, it's not correct.
Look at
all the cabins back there. Look at all that cabin.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the bridge, the bridge in the middle.
In the middle. That's where the wheels are.
Yeah, they're right in front of the steam room is the bridge.
Fantastic.
Oh, boy.
When was she built?
Ready?
An 8.
Don Raven. There's no date here.
That's how they used to see it.
It's upside down. That's it.
Okay.
Where is it made?
Wait.
Don Raven.
Where is it made?
Stomo, why don't you read whatever it says here, okay?
Can you read it?
No, read it.
Steamship Don Raven.
Length overall, 268.
Probably
feet. Point 3 feet, yeah.
260.
90 meters. Between 260.
C. Mitchell and Company.
Where is it built?
Mitchell, C. Mitchell and Company.
C. Mitchell and Company. Iron Shipbuilders, Low Walker, Newcastle on Tyne.
When was it built?
There's more information. It was built in Newcastle in 1873.
1873.
It sank on the 25th of April, 1876,
Only
103 years ago.
She was
What date? Did it
April
sink?
76, 103 years ago.
Yeah, almost exactly.
Almost exactly, yes. It was bound from Karachi back to UK. We don't know what the cargo was yet.
UK, in the United Kingdom.
Yes.
Well, it was the time of the big empire, you know.
Its first owner was somebody called William Milburn, but it had had 13 owners in 3 years by the time it sank.
Unlucky ship.
The master of the ship, the captain, was Edward Kerr, who came from Cornwall, and he was only 26. And there'd been 3 masters in 3 years.
Yeah, figures. You should have missed the reef.
It had a pig house in front of the funnel.
Big house.
It's not kosher. Get it away from the diving center.
Did that come from in front of the funnel?
Yeah, sure. Right over here.
There are some.
We found it here.
There are some news reports from the time of the sinking. On the 28th of April, the Times said it's reported that the Dunraven has been totally lost in the Red Sea, crew saved. A few days later, there was a slightly more detailed report from Newcastle. Information has reached Newcastle of the stranding of the large and valuable steamer Dunraven on the Arabian coast of the Red Sea. Now, stranding suggests not sinking immediately and lying on the reef, isn't it? Wait, there's more. And then there's another one from the Public Records Office, just says, ship lost in the shales of Jubal, 25th of April, 1876.
It's not the shales of Jubal.
It's the wrong place, isn't it?
It's the wrong place.
By what distance? So
it's about 10 miles.
It's about 10 miles out. There's another reef further up.
Yeah.
Well, so it is in the Jubal, but he went to Shabali.
Maybe there is another Dunraven.
Why not?
I don't know if I can
They're going up like flowers.
When's enough? Actually, this is the third. It's the third. Yeah. Well, this is the first.
No, this one is the first.
Yes.
We've all followed a lot of false trails. Now we finally got there. What do you feel about it?
But I feel that I have connection with the ship.
You know, a man who was working with ships all his life, with boats, he has a connection to boats. You know, if you tell me go to drone a boat, I can't do it. It's like like a dog. Yes, you are connected to the things, and you like boats, you like ships, and it's, you know, a seaman is seasick. He likes the sea, so the same with boats. So that, you know.
Right, okay. What do you feel about the ship now you know more about it?
Yeah, well, at the beginning, I didn't care about the ship. All I was thinking is about Lawrence and the gold, and I didn't pay much attention about the size of the ship, or where she built, or where she came from. But later on, when we started digging inside, we found the plates, and we didn't find the gold. But today I think it's completely changed. Now I know the ship, I know the history of the ship. And I don't know, I would like to try again. I mean, I would like to start with the beginning.
Somehow I think I'm in a race against time to learn as much as I can about the Dunraven before the doors close behind me, and we just won't be able to go back there again. And then maybe the final secrets of the Dunraven will never be discovered.
Yossi.
I'm sure that I'd like to dive there again and again, in order to discover more things.
You're not going to get romantic about it, though, are you?
I don't feel any romantic feelings about the boat.
You're tough.
I'm not tough. I don't have any romantic feeling.
Later, we learned that the Dunraven's cargo had been bales of cotton. And even there, other divers had beaten us to it. They'd salvaged the cargo over a century ago. And the Dunraven, she belongs to Egypt now. And slowly but surely, the coral is molding her into a part of the reef that sank her.
Settlers from what the Israelis call Ophira and the Arabs call Sharm el-Sheikh got Prime Minister Begin's promise to ask President Sadat to hear their request to remain in their homes after Ophira, or Sharm, is returned to the Egyptians next year. By whatever name, its desert robes of beauty and tranquility hide the painful price of peace for those who settled here. Howard Rosenstein reefs, clear waters, an infinite variety of sea life with strict laws prohibiting fishing and even the collecting of seashells. Rosenstein helped build the tourist industry by developing a scuba diving business now worth over $500,000.
We're dealing with, in this area, immediate area, about 20,000 divers a year. And it's a multi-million-dollar tourist enterprise. And it has every capability of achieving a potential that will rival maybe the areas on the Riviera or the Caribbean.
Thus, the economic as well as personal loss will be enormous. Rosenstein has dual Israeli-American citizenship. His 3 children were born here, and he wants to stay if the Egyptians will allow it.
It would be a shame if it becomes an area of political dominoes, you know, or checkers, where people move people around and in and out and things like that.
On Thursday, they will put their plea to remain to President Sadat when he meets Prime Minister Begin.
We're political refugees today. In many respects, we're similar to the Palestinians.
But until the Palestinian problem is solved, Sadat is not likely to permit Israelis to remain on Egyptian soil. Bill Siemens, ABC News, Sharm el-Sheikh.
Sharm el-Sheikh, in the southern Sinai, where great reaches of rocky, inhospitable desert suddenly give way to warm, crystal-clear water and the startling world beneath its surface. 10 years ago, Howard Rosenstein left a life of religious study to come here and build a new career as an underwater photographer and diving instructor. In 5 months, he will have to leave.
I'm giving up more than most, if not more than anybody else, because of the lifestyle I have here and the achievements that I've had. I'm talking about 18-hour days, day in and day out, and under pretty trying physical conditions here for many years. And now it's starting to be fun. As you can see, some coming with my family and friends sailing on a Saturday off, and these are things that I never did 5 or 6 years ago.
Rosenstein's company is the largest recreational diving operation in a place that has become an international tourist attraction. The Egyptians may ask him to stay as a consultant.
But if in my way I could help to keep this beautiful coastline as a recreation area and open to tourists from around the world, and make sure it doesn't return to its pre-1967 definition of a military camp, then that's a very important goal for me.
Rosenstein's uncertainty about his future is shared by Israelis all over that part of the Sinai that will return to Egypt next April. They wonder what will happen to the hotels catering to tourists who flock to the beaches, and what will happen
to evaluate 10 years of a person's life. And I gave the best 10 years of my life in that respect. And that thing can't be compensated. I mean, that's all. I mean, that's just something that's gone into the wind or the water, and it's gone. And that's sad.
Art Kent, NBC News, Sharm el-Sheikh.
Imagine a strange and distant world. A world of the unusual and the beautiful. The rare and the bizarre. All living in a primeval ecological balance, controlled by the pulse of the ocean's tidal flows. Imagine this inhospitable and remote world being ruled by a population of giant tortoise and shared by robber crabs, capable of cracking coconuts with their grotesquely oversized pincers. Imagine that world as the largest and most remote coral atoll on our planet. A thin and inhospitable strip of land encircling a massive lagoon, teeming with huge schools of fish and unique creatures of the ocean floor. And if your imagination runs so wild, then you have come just a part of the way to recreating the mystery and magic of one of the Earth's most remote and inaccessible islands, and one of the ocean's most closely guarded secrets, Aldabra. Lying at the northern end of the Mozambique Channel, Aldabra, the remotest island of the Seychelles archipelago, lies 600 miles southwest of the main island of Mahé. Our vessel, the Fantasy, a specially equipped dive boat purpose-built for expeditions of this sort, and usually based in the Red Sea, has already made the arduous journey down the East African coast to Port Victoria to refuel and take on supplies for the final leg of the expedition. On board is a team of some of the world's top underwater photographers and writers who aim to become the first to explore and record Aldabra's unique underwater mysteries since Jacques Cousteau visited the atoll 40 years ago. The only port of entry to the Seychelles in order to comply with immigration formalities is Victoria, on the main island of Mahe. Howard Rosenstein, the owner of the Fantasy, obtains port clearance from the harbour authorities at Victoria, and we prepare to cast off. On board, the crew carry out their last-minute preparation for this 5-week exploration, and the expedition members carry out last-minute equipment checks. David Duboulet, National Geographic's underwater contract photographer, has travelled to many of the world's most obscure places, world's largest coral atoll, covering an area of some 200 square miles. Again, nautical charts tell us little about the atoll, and we can only rely on what our eyes tell us, the lighter blue of the ocean signifying the shallow waters of the reef. We select an anchorage at a respectful distance offshore. There are few safe sandy beaches on which to make a landfall, most of the shoreline of Aldabra being razor-sharp coral. The remotest outpost of the Republic of the Aldabra numbered 160,000, and the population continues to grow and thrive. Way to nest on the sandy beach. The turtle is an endangered species, and we did not want to disturb them whilst they were actually laying, but before first light we were on the beach. The females deposit about 90 to 100 eggs in a night, and by dawn the eggs have been laid, the hole has been covered over, and exhausted, she drags herself inch by inch back down the beach towards the sea. Caught out in the open, perhaps trying to plunder the turtle's nest, this robber crab retreats back towards the safety of its lair. Meanwhile, as dawn rapidly rises and bathes her with its gentle light, she hauls herself back towards the ocean, the flash of the photographer's strobes recording the last moments as she heaves herself back into the warm waters of the Indian Ocean, leaving just her tracks behind her. Once inside the channel entrance, the water is only a few feet deep, and the current runs fast. We have to carefully pick our way through the shallow channels, meandering between the clumps of mangroves. Flocks of frigate birds wheel and cry overhead. The mangroves are the only nesting grounds for hundreds of miles around. Soon the water becomes too shallow for the boat to go any further. David Duboulet sees this unique environment as an ideal photo opportunity.
We're too late. This is a picture, but we're too late.
Fish more commonly associated with the coral reefs of the open ocean are here found swimming among the roots of the mangroves, bathed in shafts of early morning sunlight. The mangrove is the only tree that can grow in this environment.
Howard Rosenstein, at the young age of 19, had his first sight of the Red Sea, and it captured his heart. By 1970, he and his wife, Sharon, opened their first dive center along Israel's Mediterranean coast, followed by one of the very first diving operations along the Sinai coast of the Red Sea. In 1973, they moved Red Sea divers to a beautiful bay in Sharm el-Sheikh at the tip of the Sinai Peninsula, lodged in a primitive but functional abandoned railroad car. Howard led divers from the entire world, transporting them in Army surplus jeeps and small boats. Howard and Sharon started promoting, and before long, Red Sea Divers was hosting scientific dive teams, countless film crews, diving personalities, and underwater photographers from across the globe. They were thrilled as Howard willingly showed them the underwater wonders of his Red Sea. Howard was selected to plead the case for Sinai Reef protection. He worked closely with the U.S. ambassador to Israel to secure nature conservation and maintain diving tourism in the Red Sea. When Israel withdrew from the Sinai in 1982, Howard and Sharon moved on to establish Fantasy Cruises, the first live-aboard operation in the Red Sea. Rapid success and expanding interest in Red Sea diving prompted Howard to purchase the larger, luxurious Fantasy II in 1990. This live-aboard vessel explored the entire Red Sea and the Indian Ocean atolls. After 25 years of continuous operation, 3 wars, and 2 national administrations, Howard and Sharon shut down their dive travel operation. Determined to stay in the dive industry, Howard formed Fantasy Line, manufacturing and distributing underwater photo solutions. We pay tribute to Howard, the ambassador of Red Sea diving, for generously sharing his underwater world.